Hi, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the AI Monetization Podcast. I'm Binny, the co-founder of Project Pro. As you know, we speak with industry leaders, both business leaders and AI leaders, on what tangible business outcomes and ROI are they seeing with AI. Today, we have with us Chandra. Chandra is the technical director and architect focused on AI ML at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure in North America, where Chandra basically focuses on multiple engagements that Oracle has with Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies on their AI strategy roadmap, rolling it out, taking it to production, and delivering enterprises these outcomes using AI. Chandra is also a lead of the IEEE Task Force on LLMs on the Government Activities Committee. And prior to this, Chandra has a multi-decade experience starting off in data analysis, data mining, data scientist, and previously he was a lead data scientist at Aetna. Chandra, thank you for taking time to do this. Welcome.
Thank you, Binny. Thank you for inviting me here. Before we start, I would like to say a disclaimer that the views expressed in this podcast are my personal. They do not represent my employer or its customers.
So,
Thank you,
okay.
Binny. Thank you for your great initiative here. I think there is a great demand for education on how do we monetize AI within the enterprises. I think you're doing a great work by bringing the industry leaders here to your podcast and bringing their views. I think this is quite informative and educative to many leaders in AI.
Thank you. Thanks, Chandra. Chandra, to begin with, in your current role, you are in multiple enterprise customer conversations, and you're seeing the in the early wave of AI adoption. And in your career, you've also kind of experienced the early waves of cloud adoption and data science adoption. What are you seeing different about this? What is so different about what you're hearing and seeing in this AI wave?
Yeah. So if you remember, in early 2015, so almost a decade ago, most of the talk was about big data and Hadoop. How do we process this large amount of data that all the enterprises have, and there is a lack of infrastructure for that. And after that, we see a rise of data science, and data scientist was the sexiest job. If you remember, there was a lot of buzz around it. Now with LLMs, the entire perspective has changed. Right now, when the data science models were there, the enterprise leaders were apprehensive. Not they were not really understanding the basic technology behind it, and there was a lot of at least I have personally seen a lot of resistance about whether these models really work in a real production setting, right? So there was more focus on explainability. Tell me why the model is saying giving a prediction result as this. But now with LLMs, everything has changed. Everybody has experience with some form of experience with chat GPT, so they know that okay, AI is giving something useful to me. Now everybody wants to have a chat GPT like solution in their enterprise business flow, right? So they want to get data, or they want to summarize their data in some format. So to answer your question, I think the chat GPT kind of tools kind of made AI more. They brought AI to the forefront. Now industry leaders want to exploit, or not exploit in the sense they want to really use that in their business flows to for productivity gain or for service improvement. So I think that made the job of an AI leaders a bit more easy, because now they did not explain all the technical details about how a AI or a data science model works. Everybody understands now. I think that's a big shift I would say I have seen in the past 3-4 years.
Interesting. So you're saying that the compared to the cloud and the data science and the AI wave, the fact that the AI wave has given people a consumer product, which is ChatGPT, that is a big driver of that adoption. Like the cloud never had a consumer product. Nobody could really, unless you were in the enterprise, only then you would use a cloud directly. Is that roughly?
I think, I mean, there are different perspectives. Actually, the cloud has enabled, like, so I think just to take a step back on that, cloud has enabled the enterprises to bring the cloud infrastructure, the AI infrastructure to them at ease. Like, suppose without a cloud, you need to have all the infrastructure for training your deep learning models or GPUs in-house, or like in some format, right? Now, cloud infrastructure has enabled them to spin up cloud GPU instances whenever they require, and they can shut it down. So that kind of cloud has really played a big role in bringing the AI to like AI models training to the enterprises. But there was a question around how do we really use this model in production settings. So always you're not using a deep learning model, right? But the question is, as a data scientist, you developed a model, but how do we put it into a real business function? So there's a big leap that you have to make it from building a model to convincing the business users to really use your model in a day-to-day function. So there's a big gap. I mean, say it's not just if you have seen, like, most of the AI projects are like data science projects, they die at POC stage because either there is no backup from the senior management that we need to use the AI or data science in our business functions, or there was no what do you call commitment from the leadership to like use this once the model is developed. So there was a lot of not only the technical consulting, but there is also some kind of a functional consulting involved in this process. So in my opinion, I believe that like all the AI or data science projects are not just pure technical implementations. They are a kind of techno business implementations. It's different than a purely technical project, technical IT project, right? So where really enterprises to see the benefit, they need to embed the AI into their business flows. Then only they can see the benefit. I can give an example. Like I was working with in my previous role, I transformed a care management function at one of the insurance companies. Right. So the care management, just to give a brief context to that, like the healthcare industry, the insurance industry specifically, almost 80% of the cost comes from like 20% of the like high risk members. So these care management is an extra support that these insurance companies provide to reach out to these members and understand what their healthcare gaps are, like what they are not doing, which their care provider is asking them to do. So there's a lot of variation across the interventions that are provided by these nurses to these members, right? So how do we make it more uniform using data? And but this problem requires not only just building a machine learning model that can identify the right interventions, individualize the care plan for the members, but how do we convince that the nurses who are doing this job can really rely on this model to do their job effectively? So that this requires a back and forth between the data science team and the business team, that okay, are we on the right track? What are the gaps in our model? So how do we close those gaps while we are building the model? And once the model is built, how do we ensure that these model results are available to the nurses at the right time? So in big picture, the data science model is like one portion, and there are a lot of peripherals around that. And how do we close those gaps? How do we build those peripherals to ensure that the end user, whoever is supposed to use, is really using it on a day-to-day basis? Otherwise, your models are going to end up in shelf. So
no, that's very well articulated. That's definitely very helpful. I want to come back to this care management use case a little later. I'll come back to this. But before that, just to staying slightly at a higher level, which is when you interact with enterprises, who usually is taking the lead on these AI use cases? Are you seeing it mostly the business teams, or is it the IT teams? Who takes the lead?
Yeah, it's morely these days I've seen like mainly the business teams, because they see the value of AI. and they know that their existing process are somewhat like broken, or like there needs to be some kind of, at least not really broken, if like there is a opportunity for improvement, right? So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
discussion around how can we use AI to take it to the next level, like from whatever the
yeah.
current state to the next level, and whether it is really useful or not. So the discussion is mainly coming from the business leaders. I think that's a big change compared to
Mhm.
at least 10 years ago. Yeah.
Interesting. And we're all familiar with the, I guess, the most popular being like a customer support use case and some kind of a knowledge management use cases. Other than these two, what are some of the other low-hanging, very common use cases that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think I can talk about a couple of use cases. At least one is the conversing with relational data. I know, like even the most of the LLMs use cases around like chatbots, or like as you mentioned,
Mm,
and the bad use cases.
mhm,
But even how do we make the analytics dashboards, or like
mm,
analytics bring to the forefront of the executives? So if
mm,
you, in absence of an LLM kind of tool, then you used to have a bunch of data analysts preparing reports for these executives on a daily, on a frequent basis.
mm,
But now even that becomes like, now I would say in a predictive analytics era, everybody wanted to have a data in real time, more accurate data. I think that was the focus now
mm.
in analytics era. And in the predictive analytics era, everybody wanted, okay, now I have the data, now I want to see the what is going to be, what are the predictions are going to be. But now with everybody now wants kind of a more actionable things. Now they want to converse in real time with the data. So even though it is relational, they don't want to like look at 10, 15 dashboards. They want to see, they want to converse with it. Okay, give me the last sales rep, last year sales data, or
Yeah,
give me like last year's performance versus the current year performance. So they don't want to like, everybody wants like very quick answers to their questions, right? So
yeah, yeah.
that's one trend I'm seeing, even though it's not really widely publicized as in the media, like
Mm,
in online forums, but this is one of the frequent use case that I come across. And now there is a more focus towards like agentic AI as well. Now, not just look at converse with data, but now how do I want to make it to more actionable? Okay, I don't want to like really spend some time uh, uh, arranging a meeting or something, right? Okay, if I see a particular trend, uh, call for a meeting with all the related executives so that it's more actionable. So I'm this is like very early stage what I just mentioned about like agentic AI, but I
yeah,
think this is, we are going to go that, okay, if you see an anomaly, or like if you see something which requires some attention, can an agentic AI call for a meeting with all the relative executives? I mean, this is
yeah,
just an example, but the trend where we are going is like, what we have seen is a current state as it is, what I wanted immediately. Then we wanted to like look at the forecast, the future.
yeah.
Now from we wanted to kind of not just look at the reports. Now I want to converse with data. Now we want to like make it more action. So we are going towards more automation, I would say.
Okay. And on something like, for example, the business intelligence or dashboard use case, right? Given the, those are numbers involved and the probabilistic way that LLMs work, what is actually happening there under the hood? Is it that the queries are being converted to SQL and then it's being processed? Is that how it's actually happening? Or
So that again, that's not as
Mhm,
simple as you're asking it. Again, that's again a challenge for
mhm,
the technical team to solve. But the
mhm,
just a simple example, the explanation
mhm,
here is, whenever you're asking a question to a LLM, right? So you
mhm,
already gave your metadata about your data to LLM. That, okay,
mhm,
these are the tables that I'm working with, and these are the column descriptions.
mhm,
And when a user asks the question, then
mhm,
LLM is trying to frame a SQL query
mhm,
based on the data that was already provided,
mhm.
and that is output from the LLM. That, okay, for this natural language question,
Yeah.
this is the corresponding SQL. Now go and execute on the database.
Mhm,
So that's how it works. I think the challenge, the technical challenge that is yet to be, I mean, in the enterprise, there are so many tables, right? So what tables are we going to query with? I think we need to give all that information to LLM, and there is
Yeah.
a limitation on your prompt length and etc. Right? So those are the technical challenges in implementation, but this is to answer your question, that's the process.
Okay, got it. Understood. And you mentioned the care management use case before in insurance use case, right? And one of the things you mentioned was the high risk population is the 20% which generate most of the liabilities. So and you said that insurance companies try to find ongoing continuous information about them. So is this a scenario where would it be acceptable for a AI voice agent to, at frequent intervals, be triggered to call these uh, insurance holders to query? Is that even a possibility there, or is that modality very different for that?
Yeah, I know. So I mean, we
Mhm.
can do it. The automation is possible, but the question is like whether the other person is really willing to talk to you, right? So they are
Mm,
already have going so much on with their health and their personal life, right? So
mm,
so generally, we need to make a like a appointment that we are going to call it next time, this time, and they
mhm,
may or may not be available. So I mean, that kind of automation is possible, but what are we going to achieve with that automation? I think that's the question that we need to ask. I mean, there
mhm,
are simple tasks that can be automated, but
mhm,
to answer your question, yes, the automation is possible to
mhm,
frequently call them, but
mhm,
it has to be more personalized, right? So you need to maintain the continuity between the previous conversation to the next conversation so that they
mhm.
understand that the person who is talking on the other end is really concerned about their health. Then only they kind of open up and give you more information. Otherwise, it's
Yeah,
going to be like a non-productive call.
understood. Okay. The other thing I was curious about in terms of use cases, Chandra, is that given your current role that you manage projects across enterprises and things like that, right? And there is a certain amount of project management or program management involved, which is, speaking to customers, getting requirements gathering, maybe breaking that into some kind of sprints, assigning resources, tickets, reporting, all of that stuff. I've thought a lot that that's a very prime use case for AI agents to help with, like a suite of agents to help with program management or project management. Is that something you've seen out there solutions, or if not, why is it that we don't? That is not a very popular use case today for AI.
Uh, yeah, I've not seen that use case, but
Uh,
based on what you're explaining now,
mm,
it is again there is some back and forth, right? Like the agent like, in real life, right? So these projects, like as you said,
mm,
they don't go in like very like a linear fashion. That okay, you
mm,
speak to a customer and then they're really ready to start the project, and then you kind of come up with your project plan, future state architecture, and so on, right? So
mm,
there is a lot of back and forth. There is a lot of cycles that go on between a really project initiation to like a project start to a project
yeah.
completion, right? So there's a lot of
Mm,
back and forth.
mm,
And sometimes depending on your customer, these project lead times could vary between like 2 months to
yeah.
like two, depending on the size and the complexity of the project. So I mean, if it is like, I mean, the agents could certainly play a role if it is more, I mean, a kind of more real time, we will see some kind of a benefit of using an agent, right? Otherwise,
Mm,
it's more like a project management. I mean, probably an agent might still kind of trigger alerts or schedule meetings based on what is going on in a project. But given the large lead times, I see like people might not be like seeing the real benefit of like using it. That's why that may not that's the reason that's why it's not becoming as prominent as other use cases where you see
I
like a real
see.
time benefit, that okay, where you have like continuous interaction with your system, and okay, you're seeing that okay, yeah, this agent is giving me some results, now I'm excited about it. So I think
Mhm.
I can think of that as a prime reason for that scenario being not as much popular as other use cases.
It's a very interesting insight. It's not very real time. A lot of that is happening under the hood in the background. A lot of that is kind of yeah.
I mean, this could
Mm,
be like a prime use case if for a project manager, if he is managing like say more than like 100 projects kind of thing, it becomes quite cumbersome for him to manage. Like you really need to understand what are the critical items, and then probably agent can like look at his uh, the project plans across different projects and like flash him that okay, these are the things that you need to be worry about today. So because
Yeah,
there's delay. So I think there's still a use case, but like most of the times, if you are 100 projects are not going to be managed by one person, right? So
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, you earlier mentioned about very few projects moving from POCs to production. In terms of challenges or guidance on best practices, right? What is the best practices someone should adopt to differentiate their product from getting killed at POC stage versus going live to production?
Um, I would say like it's not the best practice in terms of like a technical development, right? Like as
Mm,
a AI engineer or a data scientist, you must be following some with some methodology. Like you must be following
mm,
some best practices to develop your model, ensure that it is giving right results with in the real time with unseen
mm,
data real time. But the best practice here is to like as I mentioned earlier, it is to engage with the business teams to in early so that there is a commitment from them and keep all stakeholders informed about like the progress and what you're discussing with the business and what the hurdles that you're seeing. So as I mentioned, it's not a purely a technical implementation to take from POC to like production. It is a
mm,
techno business implementation where you need to really bringing the commitment from the business for this solution that you're developing and ensuring that they are going to use it in real life. Otherwise, you will have a wonderful solution, but the business is not really interested. So then it becomes like it ends up in a shelf, right? So
yeah,
to answer the question, I think it's not about. I'm assuming that everybody following the best practices here, and if you are getting a good following the best practice, ultimately it is to convince the other users to use your AI solution or a data science solution in business flow. I think that's the main. That's where you spend majority of your time,
yeah,
apart from the model, but majority of time is to like convince them and hear their perspectives on your approach and
yeah,
have that back and forth conversation and ensure that ultimately they are really interested in your solution and they're going to use it. So if they
mhm,
start using it, it becomes like a domino effect. Right now, they are interested in this solution. Now they are coming up with more ideas. And now the example that I was talking about, the care management, right?
mhm,
So the nurses were talking to these people, these members, and then they were taking a lot of notes. Now the question was, okay, I'm spending prior to call, I'm spending 1 hour researching about members from the previous notes. After the call, I'm taking notes for almost an hour, detailing everything. So where can AI help me? So I had some solutions for summarizing the previous notes. How do we transcribe this the conversation? So all those ideas come up, and then they are more interested in using this on a day-to-day uh, business process, right?
yeah.
So basically, to answer your question in one line, it is not the best practices are like you usually assuming that a data science team is following that, but the next step key is to like get that commitment from the business users to really use it.
Got it. Got it. No, that's very, very interesting. And because it's a very interesting point, I just want to like double click on this a little bit, which is when you say get the business team's commitment, right? I'm trying to understand this slightly better, meaning, uh, like you were saying, in many of the AI projects, the business team is taking the lead on the project, meaning they have a problem that they recognize they need a solution as well, and maybe they're using some band-aid solution to solve it right now. So they recognize the problem. They're in a way co-creating the solution with the technical team. So which means the features in the product roughly map to what they say they want. You talked about keeping them in the loop, communicating, and making sure they accept the solution. Is this more a very soft storytelling, psychological kind of a thing that they have to accept? It's like their product. Is that the thing here? Or is there something to do with the mismatch between what is built and what they had in mind? Or
Yeah, so I mean, it's like depending on a scenario, it could go into like different angles, right?
mm,
So
mm,
when I say for using those words, the reason for that is okay, there are different players within a business function as well. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe the top management might be coming to you and saying that we need AI, but when you're
Mm.
actually doing the work, corresponding with the business team, you are always not corresponding with the very top person. You are corresponding with the
Right.
person who's doing the job, right? So
Yeah.
now our person is convinced that okay, AI needs to be there, but you need to convince that even the real person who is going to use your solution. So there is
Mm.
a different, the perspective with which they are looking at the problem is not same, right? So there
Yeah.
are different perspectives.
Mm.
You are going with an ambitious goal that okay, I'm going to transform this business using AI, right? So
Mm.
now, so there are different angles here,
Right.
and as you mentioned here, it's more of a both soft and also kind of understanding the business, and there is some
Yeah.
how do we translate the real business requirement to technical aspects as well. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, there are multiple angles here, like that's why again it depends on the complexity of the business use case as well, right? It's not just that every time you need to do this process. If it is a cookie cutter solution, probably you're just going to implement it. There are no back and forth. They have to use it. But it also depends on the complexity of the use case as well.
Makes sense. Yeah. Now, during the SaaS software era, right? Once a company decides on buying a software, let's say Salesforce or SAP, and now they want to make sure, or even if this custom products built internally, companies used to invest in these digital adoption platforms, right? That would give on-screen walkthroughs, tool tips, and things like that to make sure the employees adopt that software. Do you see a similar need for AI adoption, or do you think to enable AI adoption, it's a different class of solutions is needed to solve that problem?
Mm, that's a good question. Yeah, to answer your question, I think
Mm.
I've seen that kind of a like tool tip kind of
Mm.
where you are
All the like
guiding the.
videos, help video, all of that inside the product, no?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I'm not seeing
Mm.
that kind of like a products or thing, but I'm
Mm.
still not clear on like your use question. Basically, are you saying
Mm.
that these SaaS products need to have some kind of a walkthrough on like how to use their solution? Is that what you're saying?
That used to be there for the traditional SaaS products like Salesforce, SAP, and things like that.
Mhm.
There was a separate category of tools like digital adoption platforms that would help with that.
Okay.
So I don't know, in a AI first world or an agentic world, is user adoption, are there issues even after the management signs off? Do you face issues with end user adoption? How do you usually solve that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're
Mm.
talking more about like the UI part of like the AI solution adoption. I think
Yeah,
am I it right? So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yes, I mean, so generally, ultimately, like the all the it has to go on to some UI, right? So like basically,
Mm.
the end user has to access it on some UI,
Yeah.
and so there is some kind of education involved. Like
Mm.
going back to the previous example, like now they're working on a screen. Like when they're talking to a member, they're entering their member ID, and then their entire information comes up on their screen. Right now, we need to find some real estate on their screen. That itself is another discussion with the technical, the IT team to get that real estate for popping up the uh, model results. Uh, but do we really need a training on that? I think it's part of their entire application training, right? It's so whenever your application is real estate has changed, then there is already some adoption, already some training is going on for them, right? So
Mhm.
coming back to your question, it's not more specific to AI. I think the
Mhm.
AI is going to embed into their existing application, whatever they are using,
Yeah.
whatever the SaaS that they are going to use.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I think the real challenge for the AI team is to get the real estate on that application. So
Mhm.
it's the training will be part of that. I mean, to answer your question, that is not a real problem. I mean, for
Mhm.
the AI team is to real problem is to get the real estate on that screen.
Mhm. Got it. Make sure. So then they're visible, and then
Yeah.
people will start adopting them. Makes sense. Okay. Um, So, the other one use case I want to get your thoughts on is, given that you are in the cloud division at Oracle and you have a lot of experience in that. Uh, are there agents that you're seeing to help data engineers with things like cloud configuration, setup, basically automating CDK kind of scripts? Is that something, is that a real need? Do you seeing solutions there?
Yes, that's a real need. I built an agent for our internal teams here. So,
Awesome.
so again, there are different perspective on this. Like, if
Uh,
you are a proficient command line user and a
mm,
would be working on this terraforms and everything using command
mm,
line, you might
mm,
feel that this is just like a new bell and whistle, right?
mm,
But in a cloud environment, you are getting a lot of logs from your
mm,
resource, right?
mm,
And they all end up in some kind of a log storage
mm,
now. And also, like, if you need to make a new change to your existing infrastructure, then probably either you are using you are spinning up a new Terraform script to make those changes, or you need
mm.
to click like 10 different screens to get to that resource, right? Like, how do we
Right.
automate this? There are two
Exactly.
aspects. One is like
Yeah.
creating, there is like, to put like CRUD operations, like
Mm,
there is a create operations, there is delete operations, and then you can read what is in the existing cloud infrastructure as well. So to answer your question, this is a real use case, and I have a agent for our internal teams as well. So
very nice. Do you think we'll all see the cloud providers offering such agents to their customers to make navigation easier and things like that? Will that happen?
yeah, I believe it is going to change the way
Mm,
with the new interest around agents, right? So
mm,
all the voice that we are interacting, they might change drastically in the next couple of
okay.
years. I think that's where the trend is. I think that's what I'm seeing, at least, that there is a lot of interest around AI agents, and how do we make it, bring it to the like forefront of the real business day-to-day usage.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the reasons I asked is, because at Project Pro, one of our businesses is the whole practical hands-on skilling that we do on data science and data engineering. So whenever we do these hands-on projects on data engineering, the biggest complaint we get from customers is that why do I have to spend so much time configuring and setting up the stuff? Can I somehow get to the business problem, solving that quickly? So, we were thinking ourselves, why isn't that there? So, like, it's great that here you built it.
Yeah, but I think like it depends on the existing architecture of the enterprise as well, right? So like if it is a entirely like a greenfield tenancy, right? So then probably you have less to worry about. But if
Right.
your enterprise is quite big, and then you have a lot of going on in your existing cloud infrastructure,
Mm,
then you certainly have to like worry about all the security, networking, where this user is
right.
coming, and I think you got a lot more variables to worry about. And
Right.
I, I
Yeah.
mean, so there is a designing your future state architecture is more complex, but at the same time, like agents can at least help you in understanding what is their current footprint looks like, and whether, and it can also kind of instead of using Terraform scripts, you can, just like everybody's talking about like using agents for coding, right? Similarly, you can
Yeah.
use agents to bring up your cloud infra as well. So.
Yeah. I see what you mean, which is like you said, which is if you're firing up a new instance for something new, it's probably fine. But in an existing thing, there is no scope for error in something like that, right? Because the ramifications are huge if something hallucinates and clicks the wrong thing. So I see your point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not only clicking that thing, like your solution, like when you are bringing up a new services, you are needed to think about how the future state looks like, and how that
Mm,
is it in compliance with your security standards, etc. I mean,
mm,
there are more variables to worry about.
mm.
uh, yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then, just finally, Chandra, like for like the new generation of graduates coming into the workforce, especially people who want to be data scientists and data engineers. Uh, what tips do you have for them? Does the data scientist job look the same anymore? Are people still doing regression and classification? Or is everybody doing Gen AI? What should they expect?
That's a good question. I think now all the graduate programs are like they're renaming themselves as like masters in AI, right? So
Right.
there are no data science. So
Right.
I think the change in the industry shift from like AI to AI, right? So I think even the education is going to more focused on the Gen AI kind of things. But I believe the still core foundations of like machine learning or statistics that is still required. Like for a
Mhm.
graduate, right? Like how do you evaluate that? Okay, LLM one is results are better than LLM two. How do we prove that it is statistically LLM one is doing a better job than LLM two, right? So
Yeah.
why do you use a particular? If that is a question from a your business leader or from your technical leader, you need to like provide that answers, right? So there has to be you need to understand how the statistical test works and whether it is you need to know all the uh, fundamentals of like the statistical testing. I'm just giving an example there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think my advice would be to like always be hungry for learning. So I think that everybody is like if you the technology of the LLMs is quite recent, right? It is like 5 6 years old. The transformers coming in about like 2018, so we are 2025, right? But all the technology is very recent and agents are like very new. It's like the concept is there for a long time, but now everybody is talking about very recently. So uh, they need to be like always open to learning. I think that's my advice. If you compare to like other IT technologies where you learned a specific programming language, probably that might have lasted for your entire career, right? But if you are coming to an AI field, that may not be true. Like probably you might have to learn many things as you uh, progress in your life. So yeah, I think that's my advice. Like it's not as simple as like you become a master of one particular programming language and then that's it. But here you need to learn many tools, technologies, and that are coming up. Probably you need to invent something as well. So like it may
Yeah.
not be like technical invention, but at least you need to have that innovative mindset to solve business problems using different tools and technologies. So that's where you need to be always learning new things. So I think that's a major challenge as well, right? It's always not easy to keep that momentum going on and
Yeah.
keep that. So I think that's my advice is if you are in spite of all the hype around AI, if you are not willing to learn, I think that then you're uh, it's not good. So
Got it. Okay. This has been very helpful, very insightful. Chandra, thank you for taking time to do this. Really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you, Binny. Thank you for having me here.